You know, what happens in Vegas can sometimes end up in a tell-all book. I'm Hyla in Hollywood for the Daily Buzz on CELEBUZZ.com. So we saw those Prince Harry photos when he was doing it big in Vegas, but the question is, are we going to hear even more? Well, it's up to Carrie Reichert. She was the blonde that was hanging out with Harry for just about 20 minutes, and she now wants to write a tell-all book. I want to bring in our legal expert, Royal Oakes. He's on the phone to help break this all down. Royal, Carrie, she already sold a bunch of her story to a British tabloid. What is going to be different in this tell-all book?
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, how do you turn a 20-minute encounter with royalty into an entire book? But I imagine that she'll include pictures and stories. And the real question from a legal standpoint is whether or not she's revealing private facts. Now, if something goes on in sort of a semi-public setting, namely a party, it may not have been open to the public, but it wasn't exactly in your own bedroom. In that event, it's going to be hard for the prince to really complain about her telling exactly what happened or even showing pictures, because there's no way he could really have a reasonable expectation of privacy as a result of what happened at that party.
Now, she's not exactly the most reliable source. A few days after she partied with the prince, I think she spent some time in jail writing bad checks. Is anyone going to believe her? Does anyone even want to hear these stories coming out of her mouth?
Now, people are going to have a hard time believing her. As you say, her credibility is pretty low. But, you know, as they say, pictures don't lie. And to the extent she's got some photographs in connection with her rendition, it's going to increase the interest level. And, of course, it was all over the Internet, you know, international story. One question is whether she just makes stuff up, because when you got to fill a book, you've got to come up with a lot of text and material. And if she makes false statements, and if they are harmful to his reputation, then he could sue her for libel or slander, defamation. Of course, as a public figure, he has an especially high burden. The law says that you have to show malice, namely somebody knew darn well that they were lying when they told a falsehood. So it's a high burden. And, of course, from his standpoint, he might want to just sweep it under the rug and not want to prolong the matter in the press by filing a lawsuit anyway.
Right, so you're saying the Royals may have a case after the fact. Is there anything they could do to stop this book even coming out?
Now, you know, prior restraint is very difficult. Judges are basically allergic to doing that. If you're going to publish America's nuclear secrets or something along that line, then yes, a judge will say, all right, I'll listen and you convince me why I should prevent somebody from publishing in the first place. But almost always when you have material that somebody's really bent out of shape about, whether it's confidential, private material, false statements, the judge says, look, I'm not going to stop them in advance. If they publish it and if they are bad guys and telling lies and revealing private information, you're entitled to sue and you can get big bucks. But prior restraint, that's very difficult to get.
Well, Royal, I just want to thank you so much. This sucks for the prince, but at the day, he's still living in a castle, and we're not. Let us know what you think about this story. Use the hashtag #TheDailyBuzz, and for the biggest stories breaking right now, head on over to CelebBuzz.com.